My name is Lorna Vanderhaeghe. I'm a women's health expert. I have a master's in nutrition. I have a second degree in biochemistry. I've been researching and writing about nutritional medicine, and that means using food and nutrients as medicine for the last 35 years. And the last 10 years I have dedicated to helping women with their hormones. So that's my area of expertise. And tonight I'm going to teach you everything you should have learned about your hormones when you were 12. And if you would have learned this information when you were 12, you wouldn't have developed heavy periods and fibroids and all of the things that we develop. Period problems are the earliest warning sign that your hormones are out of balance. So generally we have those problems for quite a long time before we develop something like an ovarian cyst or fibroids or breast lumps or the other problems. The drug companies have spent a lot of time and money teaching women that the sole source of hormones in the body is the ovaries. And of course they did that because then once your ovaries take a much needed rest, they can prescribe drugs to you to replace all those lost hormones. Does that make any sense whatsoever? You were supposed to be living to about 100. Around age 52 is when our ovaries take a rest. And you're supposed to live the next 50 years with no hormones? No. That truly doesn't make any sense. Also, the highest rates of estrogen receptor positive breast cancer are in women over the age of 50 when they supposedly aren't making hormones anymore. So tonight I'm going to teach you where your hormones come from, how we fix your hormone problems. We're going to talk about bioidentical hormones. We're going to talk a lot about natural remedies. Hopefully you picked up the little Smart Solutions booklet when you walked in the door tonight, because in that booklet it talks to you about research. It also gives you the dosages for things, so you don't have to take copious notes through the talk. So all of your male and female hormones come from cholesterol. So although cholesterol got a really bad rap, you need to have adequate amounts of cholesterol in order to make estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA. And the cholesterol-lowering drugs really mess up women's hormones. They did a big study with over 50,000 women in it, and they discovered that women taking cholesterol-lowering drugs had an increased risk of breast cancer because the cholesterol-lowering drugs raised her estradiol levels to very, very high levels. So if you're a woman in the room and you are on cholesterol-lowering drugs, or your mom's taking them, you want to go up on my website and read a free book that I have called Your 30-Day Heart Smart Solution, and read it cover to cover. It's a small, quick read, and it will teach you how to lower your cholesterol naturally without using the harmful drugs. What makes the difference between the woman who hits menopause and she feels great? She can't figure out why her friends are fanning and flashing and crying, forgetting their keys, because she feels wonderful. Well, the woman who feels wonderful at menopause has great functioning adrenal glands. These are two little glands that sit on top of your kidneys, and they are your backup hormone system. If you're a younger woman, you better love your adrenals because they're going to make your hormones for you when you go through menopause. If you're already in menopause, then we want to treat your adrenals to get them doing what they're supposed to be doing. And if you're going like the Duracell bunny during your 20s, 30s, and 40s, then you hit 50, and those poor adrenals are so tired they can't kick in and make your hormones for you, and then menopause is a nightmare. So it's all about prevention and about making sure that you have balance in your life. I can tell you that I used to, when my kids were little, I'd spend weeks sewing Halloween costumes, till 3 or 4 in the morning. None of them remember any of that. So all that, those sleepless nights were really for nothing. And I think a lot of the things that we do as women exhaust us and are not really necessary. So you have to start asking yourself, what's really important that I do every day? And you need to have good functioning adrenals because they help you deal with stress, but they also make hormones for you. The thyroid, this is the gland that sits wrapped around your windpipe. Your thyroid is the master conductor of all of your hormones. Your thyroid determines how quickly your heart's going to beat. Your thyroid determines if you're going to be happy or sad. Your thyroid is involved in whether or not you're going to be overweight or thin. And because the thyroid is the master conductor, and we have an epidemic of low thyroid in this country today, we have 23% of the population already on thyroid medication. We have another 30% of women in this room right now that have low thyroid that have yet to be treated. And so I'm going to talk a lot about thyroid a bit later. The The liver. Your liver determines if your estrogen is going to turn into cancer-causing estrogen. Your liver decides if your progesterone is going to become testosterone. Your liver gets rid of hormones when they get too high. So if you're popping a bit too many Advils and drinking too much red wine, then your liver will not be doing the job it's supposed to do of keeping your hormones balanced. Your gut is everything from your mouth to your butt, and your digestive tract is involved in detoxifying hormones. So if you have gas, burping, bloating, constipation, or diarrhea, you will have hormone problems because your digestive tract is not working properly. Fat cells are the most dangerous hormone factories in the body. They are producing tons of estrogen. The reason why the Canadian Cancer Society tells women to get thin is to keep their estrogen levels in balance. The ovaries have been relegated to the bottom of the list because although they're very important if you're trying to have a baby, in every single woman they're going to take a much needed rest at menopause, or maybe you're one of those women who's already had her ovaries removed during a hysterectomy. Now you know that there's lots of other places in your body that you're making hormones if your ovaries have already taken a rest or if they've been removed. We have the highest rates of hysterectomy in the world here in Canada. Because our rates are so high, they do pathology reports on every uterus that they remove from women, and over 90% of the uteruses are perfectly healthy. The number one reason for a hysterectomy is heavy periods. And that, thankfully, we can treat very nicely using natural remedies. So now you know that you have lots of other places in the body that make hormones, and they also have an interplay with each other. They talk to each other. And this chart comes right out of a medical textbook. And basically what it tells you is that cholesterol is used to make your hormones. But hormones don't just stay as one hormone. For example, progesterone is used to make cortisol. Progesterone is also used to make testosterone. Progesterone can then be used to make estrogen. And the only hormone that stays as itself is estriol, which is the safest form of estrogen, and it's at the bottom of the food chain. So this is important for women who are taking bioidentical hormones. Because if you hear the information that comes across the US border, you would think progesterone was as safe as candy and just slap it on and all will be fine. But now you've learned that progesterone can be converted into many different hormones. So in my book, A Smart Woman's Guide to Hormones, we dedicated an entire chapter to symptoms. Symptoms that tell you when your hormones are too low or too high. And symptoms will actually tell you more than any blood test or urine test that you ever have done for hormones, because they tell us everything. And I'm going to talk a lot about those as we go through the talk. What is a normal period? Probably the most important thing for women to learn, and to learn it young, because I think a lot of women are truly suffering with period problems that don't have to, especially our teenagers. And as soon as a woman starts having menstrual cycles, she can take any of the products that I'm talking about tonight. So if you have a teenager at home who's really suffering. So I can also tell you that what is the solution in the doctor's office for any kind of period problem? The birth control pill. And that is because we now prescribe the pill for everything except for contraception. And if you have a doctor tell you that you're going to go on the pill to regulate periods, there is no regulating that goes on. The birth control pill is synthetic hormones, and the reason why you bleed is because the hormones stop. There is no normal period, and if you had period problems before you went on the pill, when you come off, you will have them when you come off, and sometimes much, much worse. We have 1 in 6 women today that are infertile, that cannot get pregnant. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact we're putting 14-year-olds on the pill to treat hormonal acne. They don't come off till they're 32, and then they wonder why they can't get pregnant. So we have to be very cautious with the birth control pill. And I often have women tell me that it's okay because they're on the low-dose pill. And so I say, lower dose than what? Well, the low-dose birth control is lower dose estrogen than it was in the 50s. But I can tell you that the low-dose estrogen birth control pill contains 7 times the amount of estrogen that we give to postmenopausal women. So there is nothing low-dose about it. So your period should show up every 21 days, every 28 days, every 30 days, and it should do that regularly every month. And then we count the days of a menstrual cycle. So day 1 is the first day of bleeding, and in the first half of the cycle, estrogen rises. Estrogen's job is to make your uterine lining thick and juicy. And that is so if an egg gets in there during ovulation, it has somewhere to live for the next 9 months. Most women ovulate between day 10 and day 15. That means pop out an egg. Very important dates to note if you want to have a baby, because you only get 12 tries a year. And even more important date to know if you don't want to have a baby. And I do a lot of fertility counseling, and it is shocking how many women who are trying to get pregnant don't know when they ovulate. So that's an important date to know. In the second half of the cycle, progesterone rises. If you actually got pregnant, progesterone would rise to very high levels, and that's to keep you pregnant. If you didn't get pregnant, then progesterone will drop, and that signals the uterine lining to slough off, and you have another period. In women who get terrible hormonal migraines right before their period, that's because their progesterone falls too far too fast, and they get these awful migraines. And we treat that by giving natural bioidentical progesterone. What about the woman with the heavy periods, which is the biggest concern we have, because women heading towards menopause tend to get these long, heavy flooding periods. What is happening in you is in the first half, estrogen rises. Estrogen's job is to make your uterine lining thick. So it gets thicker and thicker and thicker, and progesterone doesn't kick in because you've got too much estrogen. And so the lining gets thicker and thicker, and then when you finally do have a period, the floodgates open and you're passing these giant clots. And after 2 of those periods in a row, you then end up anemic, and when your iron is low, you bleed more. So it's a vicious cycle that we have to get under control quickly. And it's also a sign that you're what we call estrogen dominant or estrogen overloaded. And your risk of estrogen-related diseases is also higher, particularly breast cancer. So it's an important thing to get it back under control because we want to have those hormones balanced. The other thing I want to tell you is that a lot of the problems that we have, we should have our periods show up. You should not turn into a crazy person. You shouldn't put on 10 pounds of fluid. You shouldn't be in terrible pain. I can tell you right now, if a guy's testicles swelled up as much as our breasts do every month, they would have fixed the problem a long time ago. But what do? We just call it the curse and we complain about it. But now you know that period problems are the earliest warning sign that your hormones are very messed up and you need to fix it quick. Then estrogens in the environment. This is a huge contributor, and I think women are more susceptible to hormones in the environment because we use so many cosmetics. You have to start reading the labels of your shampoo, your conditioners, your face creams, your makeup. If they contain methylparaben, propylparaben, then you're getting estrogens every time you put your face cream on. So it's very important that you know where all the additional estrogen is that you get every day, especially if you have the estrogen overload conditions like heavy periods, endometriosis, uterine fibroids, ovarian cysts, breast lumps, fibroids, polyps, all the things that are related to too much estrogen in the body. The biggest dose that you and your family get every day from estrogens is from pesticides. So we always have this debate about organic foods, whether it has more nutrients than commercial food. Who cares? That is not the reason why you eat organic food. You eat organic food so you're not getting loaded with pesticides. Pesticides are hormone disruptors. They fit right into your estrogen receptor, just like estrogen made by your body. So we want to avoid pesticides. We want to avoid cosmetics that have parabens in them. We want to avoid plastic. So never heat things in plastic, never microwave in plastic. If your water bottle gets hot in the car, throw it away, because all the estrogens in the plastic end up leaching into the food, and then we get to consume them. Commercially raised meat and dairy products are high in estrogen. Dr. Platt, who's a physician in the US, got breast cancer, and she wrote an entire book on how dairy products and breast cancer are linked. So if you want to look at that link, it's quite interesting. Coffee raises estradiol. Estradiol is a very powerful estrogen. Alcohol raises estradiol. That's why when we hit 40 and we're already estrogen overloaded, we start drinking wine and we get that belly fat. And I'll talk about how to get rid of that a little bit later. Soy products raise estradiol. 1 8-ounce glass of soy milk was found to raise estradiol by 380%. So 10 years ago, they told us soy was a great food. Now they have totally backed off on that. You haven't heard anything positive about soy in the last decade, and that is because soy raises estradiol, one of the most powerful estrogens, by dramatic amounts. So I don't recommend that people consume soy products unless it is fermented. Miso, soy sauce, tempeh, natto, those are the fermented soys, and of course you're not going to eat much of them anyways because they're mainly condiments. So what happens when you have too much estrogen? By now you've figured out that you probably are one of those people with too much estrogen. We get belly fat, we gain weight. Our estrogen and progesterone ratio ends up out of balance. So our estrogen gets really high and our progesterone goes low. Cells grow out of control. So they may not develop into cancer, but I can tell you if you develop a fibroid and you end up with a 3-pound fibroid in your uterus, that can be very, very problematic. Polyps, endometriosis, ovarian cysts, breast lumps, breast cancer, all of these things are associated with too much estrogen in the body. We have all these teenagers developing hormonal acne because of all the environmental hormones that are messing up their hormones. So when they go to ovulate, what happens is instead of the egg popping out, they get tons of male hormones which cause acne. We see that acne again in 40-year-old women because as they head closer to menopause, they may not ovulate every month. So instead we're getting acne and we're applying the acne cream around the wrinkle products, which I always think is such a big problem that we get both at the same time. And women who have super high levels of estrogen will have raging hot flashes and night sweats that nothing works. Those are the women who took hormones and their hot flashes and night sweats didn't go away. Those women were already estrogen overloaded. Most North American women are estrogen overloaded because when we're under tons of stress, our body also secretes more estrogen. So here we're eating estrogens, we're exposed to it in our environment, we're putting them on our skin, we're under tons of stress, so our estrogen levels go up. And when that happens, we get hormone havoc. And so why do I care about this? Well, a decade ago, I started getting terrible heavy flooding periods that had me chained to my house. So I went to the gynecologist, had an ultrasound. She said to me, well, you know, Lorna, you've already had all your kids. Let's just take it all out. I said, well, I'd really like to go to the grave with my uterus intact as long as I don't have cancer. And she said, well, the second option was we can give you lots of estradiol to thicken your uterine lining so then we could microwave it off in a microwave ablation. And I said to her, well, I reminded her that I have a family history of estrogen receptor positive breast cancer, so I can't take estradiol. And she went, oh yeah. So I said to her, why are all these women getting fibroids and heavy periods and endometriosis? I mean, seriously, our rates of hysterectomy are off the map. And she said, we really don't know. So I left her office on a personal mission to shrink my fibroids. And through that, I developed a product called EstroSmart, and I started taking 4 capsules a day. Within 2 menstrual cycles, I could then leave my house again. A year later, I went back to the gynecologist and I had an ultrasound and my fibroids had shrunk by 12%. By year 4, I'm still taking 4 EstroSmart every single day. I reduced my dairy consumption. I got rid of all the soy products from my diet. And by year 4, my fibroids had shrunk by 39%. The goal is to get to menopause, because when you go through menopause, fibroids and polyps and things like that naturally shrink, your uterine lining thins out, and you don't have this problem. So that was my goal. Do you think at any particular time the gynecologist asked me what I was doing? No. She could have helped thousands of women save their uterus if she would have asked me what I was doing. And not only does EstroSmart work for something like period problems and fibroids, but it is outstanding at shrinking things like ovarian cysts and breast lumps and putting endometriosis in remission, and also helping with hormonal acne. It works in about 2 months to get rid of that teenage acne that our daughters are suffering with. And if you have abnormal pap smears, it reverses abnormal pap smears. All of these things are interrelated. Every woman on the birth control pill and any woman who is taking oral estrogen, so that's swallowing estrogen, should also be taking EstroSmart because it stops your body from making the cancer-causing estrogen. All of the ingredients in EstroSmart have been researched for breast cancer prevention and treatment. You know, back in 1960, 1 in 20 women developed breast cancer. Today it is 1 in 8. We are doing nothing about raising awareness about prevention. You know, here it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month again. We're going to raise billions of dollars, and not one woman knows what she can do to prevent breast cancer. And all of the ingredients in EstroSmart will help reduce your risk of breast cancer. And we even have oncologists, so cancer doctors, that have patients that can't take tamoxifen and raloxifene that are using EstroSmart in replacement because it is so effective at stopping your body from making that cancer-causing estrogen. In September and October, it's always a very difficult time because the school and the health department start bugging mothers to vaccinate their little girls with the HPV vaccine. And when the HPV vaccine first came out, Diane Harper, who is the lead researcher who developed the vaccine, went public. She wrote an article in Maclean's and she went on the news and she told moms, we never had any women under the age of 18 in any of our clinical trials. We have no idea what will happen when we vaccinate 12-year-olds with the HPV vaccine because they didn't have 12-year-olds in their study. So I think it's a very important point, and you might want to read Diane Harper's story, which is on my website under the newsletter button at hormonehelp.com. And on all of the literature we gave you is the website. But go and read it before you vaccinate your daughter with the HPV vaccine. The interesting thing is HPV needs to have that cancer-causing type of estrogen to be present in the body in order for HPV to develop into cervical cancer. In this room, at this time, 50% of us have HPV. That's how common it is. So why is it every one of us don't develop cervical cancer? Well, that's because HPV needs this cancer-causing estrogen to be present. We know from Rocky Mountain Labs in Calgary, they're a great lab that looks at hormone testing, and they advised me that when women take the ingredients found in EstroSmart, they cannot make that cancer-causing estrogen. That's the reason why it is so protective if you take EstroSmart for breast cancer, cervical cancer, and all of the other estrogen-related cancers. So we have, I'm going to tell you how much to take because people always want to know dosing. So if you have heavy periods, and this is where you might want to get your pen out, then you would take 4 EstroSmart a day. And you take that every single day. You don't stop it during the month. You take it every day. And then 1 bone booster. Bone booster contains vitamin K2, MK7, which is very effective at squelching the uterine lining. And then on the first 1 or 2 days of bleeding, so you take the EstroSmart and the bone booster every day of the month. Then when you start bleeding, you take 20 drops of shepherd's purse tincture every 2 to 3 hours while you're awake. And if you're the woman in the room who's having periods for 3 weeks or 2 weeks or 2 periods a month, then you want to go on this program as well. And it doesn't matter if you're in the middle of bleeding and you've been bleeding for 3 weeks, you can start this today and use the shepherd's purse tincture. Make sure you've had an ultrasound to rule out any abnormal cells in the uterus as well. Acne. If you have acne and you're 14 years old, you start taking 4 capsules a day. If you're the 47-year-old woman who's now getting acne again, you would take 4 capsules a day. If you have polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a very common female condition today, we see it, they have elevated male hormones, they tend to get male facial hair growth, infertility, they often can be large in the butt and the hips, and it's a pre-diabetic condition. You would take 4 capsules of EstroSmart and 1 capsule of GlucoSmart. If you have fibroids, uterine fibroids, you would take 4 capsules a day. If you have breast lumps, you could take 2 to 4, depending on how bad they are. And abnormal pap smears, this is where it works beautifully to reverse those pap smears back to normal, and you would take 4 to 6 capsules a day. Always take it with food. You can take it with dinner if you like. irregular periods, then we have a different type of EstroSmart. It's called EstroSmart Plus, and you would take 2 capsules a day. So that's the woman who is having no periods, and then they show up and maybe they're only a couple days, and then they get no periods again for 3 months, and you're 32 years old and they're all over the place. Severe PMS. This is when you have the type of PMS where you don't even like yourself. You take 2 EstroSmart Plus a day. Thyroid nodules. We're here in the goiter belt in Ontario, and a lot of it has to do with the foods that we're eating and the fact that we're exposed to too much fluoride. But if you've got abnormal cell growth on your thyroid and it's non-cancerous, but your thyroid is getting large, we use EstroSmart for that as well. So this is just some of the dosing, so that if you're one of these women in this list, you are estrogen dominant, meaning you have too much estrogen in relationship to your other hormones, and any of these conditions are telling you that you're at higher risk of breast cancer because you have too much estrogen in relationship to your other hormones. In 2008, the Canadian Cancer Society sent out a warning of 7 to 14 days. So not a big deal if you're using it in a liver cleanse, but a lot of supplements, vitamins, minerals, and other supplements have milk thistle in it that you're taking every day. And that's where the problem comes in. So you want to go home and read your labels. And it was enough concern that the Cancer Society was very clear that they found an increased proliferation in breast cancer cells when women took it. So I think we should be aware of it. It's the same situation as 10 years ago we thought soy was fine, and now the research is showing that soy is not good. If you have heavy periods, you also want to avoid maca. One of the things that maca does is can make your uterine lining thicker, and it makes your estrogen receptors more receptive. So that can be a bad thing in women who are already estrogen dominant. I always have a woman in my talks who will say to me, she'll put up her hand and say, my doctor says I'm in menopause. And I'll look at her and think, well, you don't look very old. So I ask the classic question, are you getting regular periods? And she says, yes. Well, if you're getting regular periods, you're not in menopause. The word menopause means 1 year with no menstrual periods. The 10 to 15 years before they stop, we call it perimenopause. And everything after the periods of stop, we call postmenopause. So now you know where you fit in the group. And so I asked her, why does your doctor think you're in menopause? And she said, well, I'm getting night sweats. So I started thinking that a lot of the symptoms that we get at menopause have nothing to do with menopause and a lot to do with exhausted adrenals, a low thyroid, or your liver not working well. And that's particularly true with the woman who's getting regular periods but starts getting night sweats. What's going on with her is she has low thyroid. So we want to look at all the symptoms of menopause, and let's hope you never get them all. Memory loss, brain fog, insomnia, night sweats, fatigue, mood swings, no sex drive, weight gain, water retention, urinary incontinence. So you're gaining the water in some spots and leaking it in others. Muscle and bone aches, hot flashes, anxiety, blood pressure changes, and the list goes on. Not every woman gets hot flashes and night sweats. A lot of women get anxiety and panic attacks and severe insomnia. So the list, if you look across, for example, women with exhausted adrenals will have symptoms like they fall asleep just fine, but they wake up several hours later wide awake where they can't fall back to sleep. That is a classic sign of adrenal exhaustion. So when we're looking at treating hormone problems, we always look at the adrenals and the thyroid. And the adrenals and the thyroid are directly linked, so they talk to each other. If you become exhausted because you've been going like the Duracell bunny for 2 decades, then your adrenals become exhausted and your thyroid goes low. We can often bring those adrenals back, but the thyroid will stay low. So when we look at thyroid problems, which are a big contributor to our hormone mess, and I think they're a huge contributor, the thyroid, which sits wrapped around your windpipe, it tells your heart how quickly to beat. It tells your body whether it's going to be happy or sad. Your thyroid determines if you're going to get pregnant or have recurring miscarriages. Your thyroid is also involved in constipation because your thyroid determines how quickly food is going to move through your digestive tract. Your thyroid also determines if you're going to be thin or overweight. I can tell you if you have low thyroid, it doesn't matter. You can starve yourself and run on the treadmill and nothing will budge. So it's very important to know if you have thyroid problems. High cholesterol is associated with low thyroid. The symptoms of low thyroid: a third of your eyebrows are gone and you know you did not pluck them out. And you're losing the hair in the front of your head. Constipation. So many women have gridlock constipation that's due to low thyroid. Dry, coarse hair is another one. Weight gain. Feeling freezing cold all the time. Aging. You're aging faster than your friends. That's another sign of low thyroid as well. We have a problem because our thyroid test is inadequate. So when you go to the doctor and you have any testing done, you want to ask for a copy of your blood tests. And the reason why is because you want to start your own home health medical file. So with the thyroid test in Ontario, the range of normal, so this is when your doctor will tell you it's fine, is 0.5 to 5.5. Your doctor will not diagnose you with low thyroid until your TSH, that's the test, thyroid stimulating hormone test, is above 5.5. It's when it's 6 or 7 or 8 or 11. We know that women who have low thyroid have higher rates of breast cancer, they have higher rates of heart disease, they have a whole host of serious hormone problems. We want your TSH to be below 2. So your doctor will tell you it's fine, even if it's 5.5. But we want your TSH below 2 because we know that when women have a TSH above 2, they have terrible symptoms: weight gain, dry skin, constipation, no sex drive. I mean, you'd rather be taking out the garbage. It's just gone. You feel like you're pushing yourself through the day. It's a terrible feeling. And we know that when the TSH is below 2, you'll feel good. The other thing is women cannot get pregnant, nor can they stay pregnant if their TSH is above 2. If you went to a fertility clinic in the US, they would not start you on fertility treatments until they got your thyroid hormone below 2. Here in this country, it can be 4 and they'll happily take your money. So you have to be very aware of the fact that your thyroid has to be below 2. Women who have the never-ending menopause, you know, that's the aunt who comes to Christmas dinner 10 years later who is still getting hot flashes and night sweats. She's sweating profusely. That is low thyroid that's yet to be treated properly. So what do? Our doctor is not going to give us drugs until our TSH is above 5.5. So we have ThyroSmart, which Health Canada has approved for the support of low thyroid. It is so safe you could eat bottlefuls of it and never cause your thyroid to go overactive. It works fast. You take 2 capsules at breakfast every day. The thyroid likes to be stimulated in the morning. That's the reason why we take it at breakfast and with food, because a lot of people think breakfast is coffee. So you have to eat something when you take ThyroSmart. What about the people who are already on thyroid medication? So your doctor put you on Synthroid or levothyroxine, and when you first went on it, you felt pretty good. But then over time, you noticed that your symptoms started to come back. The reason is most people are on T4, which is Synthroid or levothyroxine, and they lose the ability to convert T4 to T3. And you need the T3 because that makes you have energy and makes your thyroid feel better. And so for you, you keep taking your thyroid medication first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, and then you take 2 ThyroSmart with breakfast. And that will get your thyroid medicine converting T4 to T3, and you will start to feel good. The problem is if you are on thyroid medication and you don't feel great, the doctor keeps increasing the dose. Do you feel better? No. And the problem with that is it causes osteoporosis when you're on too much thyroid medication. So we want to keep the dose low and give you ThyroSmart to improve it. You also want to eat protein for breakfast. An egg, a chicken breast, a protein shake, protein powder in yogurt, protein powder in oatmeal. I can tell you that the skim milk toast cereal fruit breakfast is the breakfast of an overweight woman. You want to have lots of protein to jumpstart your fat-burning furnace, and your thyroid loves it. So do that. Make sure you also take a great multivitamin with minerals so you get all the cofactors to make thyroid hormone. And avoid fluoride. You know, we have fluoride toothpaste, fluoride mouthwash, fluoride in our water. So we just want to avoid fluoride entirely. I talked about the adrenals at the beginning of the talk because they are so incredibly important to hormone balancing. And the symptoms of adrenal exhaustion include: you fall asleep fine, but you wake up several hours later wide awake where you can't fall back to sleep till 3 or 4 in the morning. Salt cravings. You would rather have the salt shaker than the popcorn. You need coffee. You need coffee to get you going in the morning, and somewhere around 3 o'clock, all of a sudden you feel that big slump. You've got to have coffee or cookies or something to get you going. You used to be able to drink alcohol, but now you have 1 glass of wine and you're drunk. We call it alcohol intolerance. It's very common in women with adrenal exhaustion. You have difficulty handling stress. All of a sudden, everything bugs you. You know, the way your husband chews food at dinner is like totally annoying. Like stupid little things that shouldn't bother you become a really big deal. Crying jags, belly fat, weight gain, all of these things are associated with adrenal exhaustion. Now, the fastest way to fix the adrenals: say no to half of what you do in your life. Go to bed, go to sleep, eat great food, rest, relax, and have balance. And of course, nobody is going to do that because we're doing laundry at 11 o'clock at night and driving our son to hockey at 5 a.m. So we don't have time to do all those things. I can tell you, when your adrenals finally give up, then you can't get out of bed. That's when the body completely says no. And we have to remember that these adrenals are going to make your hormones for you for the next 50 years after you go through menopause. So we better love those adrenal glands. So what do? We eat great food, we rest, deep breathing exercises are a good one. And we have AdrenaSmart, which is a combination of herbs and nutrients to support the adrenal glands. And you would take 2 capsules at lunch or possibly mid-afternoon when you feel that slump with a protein shake. And we should be eating 30 grams of protein a day. That's for a woman who sits in a chair and does nothing. Most women are getting 6 grams a day. That's a tiny amount. And so you should be eating protein the size of the palm of your hand at each meal in order to get adequate protein. And if you're not a big meat, chicken, fish eater or eggs, then I suggest you get yourself a protein powder. And my favorite protein powder that I use is Omega Nutrition's pumpkin protein. It's affordable. It's like $25 for a container, and it's vegetarian, it's organic, and it gives you a really nice, well-rounded amount of protein. Now I'm going to talk about menopause. And there are 50 different ways to treat menopause. In the Smart Woman's Guide to Hormones book, we actually put all 50 different ways to treat menopause. And so I'm going to talk about the foundation of how we treat menopause symptoms. I'm going to discuss bioidentical hormones, and then talk about what we would add depending on what kind of symptoms you have. Because there are some women who have no symptoms. There are some women who have mood symptoms, and then there are women who have hot flashes and night sweats and weight gain and other problems. So our doctors like to treat menopause with drugs. And back in 2002, the Women's Health Initiative study was halted. This was a large trial with over 15,000 women. The study was supposed to go 8 years, and at the 5-year mark, they halted the clinical trial because they found that the women taking Premarin and Provera, this is synthetic estrogen and synthetic progestins, had a 26% increase in invasive breast cancer, a 41% increase in strokes, a 29% increase in heart attack, double the rates of Alzheimer's dementia. They also found it caused your breasts to be so dense they could not read breast cancer in a mammogram. They also are watching these people, because we have to put this in perspective. These are women having hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, and vaginal dryness that died. They died from the drugs. So they're watching these women, and they're following these women that were in this study. And in 2009, they discovered that even after stopping Premarin and Provera 7 years later, their risk of breast cancer was still as high as if they were taking the drug. And when they got breast cancer, it was far more aggressive and more difficult to treat. So what happened in 2002? A lot of women threw their hormones in the garbage. A lot of doctors stopped prescribing them. And unfortunately today, a lot of people have forgotten about this study because they are prescribing Premarin and Provera in record numbers. But after the study was halted, what happened was really bad. So you see the blue line, that's the number of prescriptions written for hormone replacement therapy, and we see a decline. It didn't go to zero, unfortunately. The yellow line, we see this spike. That's the number of prescriptions written for antidepressants, because now we treat menopause as if it is a psychiatric disorder. And I can tell you that a lot of the antidepressants can cause up to a 60-pound weight gain in a very short period of time. So if you weren't depressed before you went on them, you certainly would be afterwards. And we have to put this in perspective. We are using heavy-duty drugs to treat hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, and vaginal dryness. The health food stores are full of natural treatments to solve these problems. And instead of using antidepressants, you should look at something like Smile, which is an enteric-coated 5-HTP, which raises your serotonin, which is your happy hormone. If you want to come off antidepressants, what we do is we slowly wean off them over a 6-week period while we increase your dose of Smile. And one of my sons used Smile all through high school because he had social phobia, and it worked extremely well. So it's great for teenagers as well that are having problems. If you've got terrible panic attacks and anxiety, you feel like you've got a brick on your chest, you might want to look at that also. So what do we do for menopause? So I'm going to give you a foundation formula of which we add things to. 80% of women can sail through menopause using diet, lifestyle, nutritional supplements, and herbs. About 20% of women will need diet, lifestyle, nutritional supplements, herbs, and a little bit of bioidentical hormones, low dose, short term. So that's sort of the focus we take. We never take synthetic hormones. There's absolutely no reason to take them because we have many, many alternatives. So the first thing is we eat lots of broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, and kale. And the reason is they are hormone balancing veggies. They also found that women who eat more vegetables compared to other foods, particularly the white foods, white rice, white flour, white bread, white pasta, white potatoes, that women who eat lots of dark-colored vegetables have less hot flashes. Then they found that women who have sex twice a week have less thinning of the vaginal wall, less prolapsed uterus, less prolapsed bladder, and they were happier. And I know people think, are you crazy? You really want me to have sex when I'm having hot flashes and I'm sweating and it's not really that much fun. But the interesting thing is the research said you didn't even have to have sex. You just had to have 2 orgasms a week. But you know, we have really nice guys who come out to my lectures and we should really, you know, offer them some hope. But make sure that your TSH is below 2. That is very important. You do not want to have a thyroid above 2 when you're in menopause because it gives you terrible hot flashes and night sweats. So make sure your thyroid is in balance, eat tons of veggies, and drink water. They actually found that women who drank 6 glasses of cold water a day cut their hot flashes by 25%. They found that women who got out there and walked briskly 30 minutes a day cut their hot flashes in half. So this is the diet and the lifestyle. And take your whole family together and tell them, I'm in menopause and it is all about me. Because it really should only last about 18 months. Not 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, you know. It should not take that long to transition through menopause. What supplements do you take? If you have hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, and vaginal dryness, you take 2 Menosmart Plus at breakfast and 2 at bedtime. And this is to get those hot flashes and night sweats under control. Dr. Oz has been doing a lot of promotion for sage and black cohosh for night sweats and hot flashes. And Menosmart Plus contains 300 milligrams of sage along with other nutrients to quickly put your hot flashes and night sweats under control. If you have vaginal dryness, we have a personal lubricant called Love. It feels just like the real thing. It's not sticky, it doesn't have alcohol or parabens in it, and it really truly feels very soothing. Women in menopause should all treat their adrenals. That is very, very important. and you need a really good multivitamin with minerals as well. So this is like the foundation. And then if you have other concerns, we can add some bioidentical hormones, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Insomnia. One of the biggest problems that women suffer at menopause is insomnia. Well, actually, I think insomnia is such a huge problem for the whole population. 72% of Canadians don't sleep. They discovered that if you have chronic insomnia, especially in women, they develop high blood pressure, and they also have higher rates of Alzheimer's dementia. So if you don't sleep, we have to get you to sleep. And if your biggest problem is not sleeping, then tonight, the one thing you want to walk away with is how to go to sleep. That is the most important thing. So there are several types of insomnia. The kind of insomnia where you fall asleep fine, but you wake up several hours later, where you crash back to sleep at 4 or 5 in the morning. You need Adrenal 2 at lunchtime. Then we have the people who don't have enough melatonin. Melatonin is the sleep hormone, and thank goodness Dr. Oz has been recommending everybody take melatonin every night because it is breast cancer preventive. It makes you sleep. Yes, if you take it, you will also make melatonin. You will never become addictive. The reason why we can sell it in Canada today is because Children's Hospital in Vancouver was giving 30 and 40 milligrams of melatonin to kids who could not sleep. In adults, we need a much smaller dose, 3 milligrams. You need a pitch black bedroom, no light coming in, no light from the street lights, no bathroom light on, no hall light on, no TV on. You want pitch black. That tells your brain to secrete melatonin. If you have any light coming in your room, you will not secrete melatonin. Sleep Smart is our sleep formula that has melatonin and sleep herbs to knock you out. And so you may need that. Then we have people who go to bed and they feel like they've got bugs crawling all over them and they can't relax and their brain starts thinking and they're restless and everything feels like it's crawling. That's magnesium deficiency. So when you came in tonight, I hope you tried all the samples on the table because we have a magnesium supplement that tastes great and works fast. Then we have some people who did not develop insomnia until after menopause and it's quite severe. In those people, we use a prescription drug called Prometrium, which is a bioidentical natural progesterone. So it's a bioidentical hormone, it's a drug. You get a prescription from your doctor for 200 milligrams and you take it at bedtime. Some people may need everything. The goal is to put you to sleep and keep you to sleep so that the next day you feel good. That is the focus. So if you have insomnia, you may need it all. Do not work out after lunchtime. That causes your cortisol to go up and then you don't sleep at night. And do not drink coffee after lunchtime. That's the other thing. So working out in the morning and drinking coffee in the morning is okay, but anything at night is not a good idea. And you want a pitch black room. I started doing research on skin because as we go through menopause, it's like all of a sudden our skin changes. And you look in the mirror and you go, wow, look at all those wrinkles and the skin is so dry and everything's sagging. It's like your chin is heading to your chest, your breasts are hanging to your waist, your knees are starting to bag out. All of this is like heading to the floor. And so I thought there's got to be a reason why. It can't just simply be because your periods stop. And I'm writing a new book with Dr. Martin Braun called Beautiful Skin Begins Within. And so there are several things that occur. The first thing that occurs is that you lose 30% of your collagen in the first 5 years after menopause. And collagen in babies, when babies are born, they have lots of collagen. That's why they have this beautiful, smooth skin. But as we age, our collagen levels decline, and that's why we get these wrinkles and pits and rivers and valleys in the skin, because we don't have enough collagen. It's literally the padding under our skin. But the interesting thing is collagen is also what makes your hair strong and thick. It's what makes your nails hard. And collagen also makes your bones super, super strong. So if you lose 30% of your collagen that you see in your face, you are losing 30% of your collagen in your bone. And that is the connection to osteoporosis in women who've gone through menopause. So we see this rapid decline. in collagen, which causes bone loss, receding gums, and it causes wrinkling of the skin. So that's one thing that happens. The second thing that happens is we can no longer make GLA. So GLA is a very special fatty acid. It is not found in fish or flaxseed oil. And when we go through menopause, the enzyme in the body stops making GLA. When babies are born and they develop cradle cap, that is the earliest sign of GLA deficiency. Eczema, psoriasis, dermatitis, rosacea, they are all GLA deficiencies. So it's important if you have those that we rebuild your GLA. And unfortunately, after menopause, you have to take a supplement because your body can't make it anymore. Hormone imbalances, we talked about them in regards to acne, but they also cause lots of rashing of the skin and sensitivity in the skin. Age spots, that's those brown spots we see, we often call them liver spots. Those are caused because we do not have enough antioxidants, so we don't get enough skin turnover. So I'm going to talk about each one of these and how we fix it, because thankfully there are great ways to rebuild collagen in the body. We are spending billions, not millions, but billions of dollars on cosmetic treatments. So that's lasers and Botox and fillers, all of these things. But if you're going to do them, don't you think you want to make them last longer? And so Dr. Braun does a lot of holistic treatments where he uses nutrients along with the cosmetic treatments. And so to rebuild collagen, there's a couple of ways to do it. One of the products that works very well to do this is Collagen Plus. And it's been researched to improve the depth of wrinkles. It's also been researched to improve the thickness and the strength and the growth rate of your hair. They've also researched it to make your fingernails hard. The best thing about Collagen Plus is its research for bone health. I think it is the best bone nutrient on the market. And you would take 10 drops a day. So if you have osteoporosis already or your mom's got it, then you want to use it, Collagen Plus, 10 drops a day to rebuild your collagen from the inside out. Receding gums are an early warning sign of osteoporosis. There are dentists in Vancouver that are using Collagen Plus with great results to stop receding gums. So it's one of the earliest warning signs that you are heading to osteoporosis. GLA, and this is the reason, if you notice, you go through menopause, gets really dry and dull and flat looking, no end of exfoliation and face creams is going to fix it. That's because you've lost your GLA, which is a special fatty acid that is really for beautiful skin. And I like borage oil because it has 24% GLA. Some people take evening primrose oil, but it only has 8% GLA. And you want lots and lots and lots of GLA. And we have it in a liquid, and we also have capsules. But I love the liquid because you can drink lots of it, and you can also put it on your skin. So if you have eczema, psoriasis, dermatitis, a baby with cradle cap, or kids with eczema, then you could put it on the problem, and you also eat it. And we also have it in capsules. For people who have terrible, terrible, painful cramps when they have their periods, they are GLA deficient. And so then you would take lots and lots of GLA every day to fix that. It's great for teenagers as well. And for women who get breast pain after menopause, that is also because you do not have enough GLA. But of course, most of us care more about the beautiful skin. That's really what we're looking for. One of the most exciting things, I started looking at collagen supplements. So that's actual supplements that contain collagen. And it's scary. I was in the health food store looking at different boxes, and they won't even say on the label where it comes from. That's because most of the collagens are coming from cowhide, bones, hooves, and from pig parts and all kinds of animal sources. So I thought, well, if they're not even willing to put on the label where the collagen comes from, I'm certainly not going to take it. So I started looking for a collagen that was actually going to work, that had clinical research behind it. And the French have done some really good research using a collagen from fish. And it is an active collagen. It's from hydrolyzed marine collagen and elastin polypeptides. And they did an 84-day study. And they gave people 2,000 milligrams of active collagen a day. And they looked at the depth of the crow's feet wrinkles on the side of the face. And what they discovered was interesting. By day 28, they saw that the depth of the deep wrinkles was reduced by 20 to 40%. So we're not talking about fine lines and wrinkles, but deep wrinkles. And as a result, we're allowed to put on our label for the reduction of deep wrinkles. By day 84, they found that the skin was much more moist, that the crepey skin, you know when you age and your eyelids start to get that crepey, like you're putting your eyeshadow on and it feels like your eyelids are crepe paper, and the upper part of your arm starts to get that crepey look on it. By day 84, it started to improve the crepiness of the skin, and women also reported that their vaginal dryness was clearing up because of course, that skin as well. So this is one of those super French products that works extremely well for wrinkles, and I think combining that with the GLA is really a spectacular anti-wrinkle formula. When we look at personal lubricants, the reason why I have this slide is not to talk about Love, which is our personal lubricant, but because the prescription for estriol is on it. And when you came in this evening, we had a little menopause booklet. In there, the prescription is also in that booklet. Estriol is the only safe estrogen. So we use estriol for vaginal dryness, thinning of the vaginal wall, urinary incontinence, painful intercourse. And urinary incontinence is when you laugh, cough, jump, sneeze, you pee. And doctors tell us, oh, it's because you had babies or you're getting old. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's because you do not have enough urovaginal estriol. And remember at the beginning of the talk, I told you that the only safe estrogen to take is estriol. And that is because estriol does not cause a thick uterine lining. It also does not cause abnormal breast cell development. It does not cause your uterine lining to get thick. It's very safe. Do not use Vagifem, estradiol cream, or Premarin. They are all estradiol, which is not a safe form of estrogen. The D in it is for danger. You want estriol, which is a bioidentical natural estrogen. They have done 18 clinical trials using estriol for wrinkles and to reverse male facial hair growth. They have done 8 clinical trials for urinary incontinence using estriol in this dosage and found in 6 months 80% of the women were cured. Cured. This is women who are suffering with leaking urine that don't have to, just simply using estriol. Now, do not go to your doctor and ask them to write you a prescription for estriol for wrinkles, because they won't do it. But they will write you one for vaginal dryness, and most often they don't even check. So then you can put a little bit down there and a little bit on your wrinkles, and it reverses those hard whiskers, those black whiskers on your face, back to the nice downy, soft, white ones. So do not use Vagifem, estradiol, or Premarin cream. So if you're on those, you want to switch immediately to estriol, and that's the prescription up there. What about your bones? I only have a few more slides, and then I'm going to take your questions. What about your bones? Well, you know, they keep recommending calcium, and I have no idea why, because women who already have osteoporosis know this. They're taking calcium in the 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams, they're having a DEXA scan, and they keep losing bone. Calcium is not going to do anything for building nice, strong bones. Furthermore, we're all taking the wrong kind of calcium. We're taking calcium carbonates and gluconates, which just end up in your breasts as breast calcifications or end up in your arteries as hardening of the arteries. You need the right kinds of calcium: aspartate, citrate, glycinate, which I have up there on the 3rd bullet, and you also want to take less. If you're taking the right kinds of calcium, 500 milligrams is going to be plenty, and you need it along with vitamin D and vitamin K2 and magnesium and all the other bone-building nutrients. So in our Multi-Smart, we have everything. All your bone-building nutrients are in there. If you've already got osteoporosis, you would take Multi-Smart along with Bone Booster, and I would add 10 drops of Collagen Plus, because that, I think, is the best bone-building supplement on the planet. Most women are going to take Collagen Plus for the great nails and hair, but you want to take it for nice, strong bones. My little granddaughters have been on Collagen Plus since they were born, and their mothers took Collagen Plus when they were pregnant because it also works for stretch marks. So we're going to see if they take this through their entire life, if we can prevent osteoporosis entirely. So Bone Booster, Collagen Plus, Multi-Smart. That's your bone program. And all this extra calcium you're taking, you have to be very careful with. Magnesium. We have more than that. 80% of Canadians are magnesium deficient. They've removed most of it from our water supplies. And when they mill your grains, they remove the magnesium. Dr. George Eby is a famous magnesium researcher. He believes all the depression, anxiety, and panic attacks, migraines that people are suffering is because they're magnesium deficient. Before they developed all these fancy heart drugs, they used magnesium. If you had high blood pressure, you went on magnesium. You want to take the right kind of magnesium, which is magnesium bisglycinate, or also called magnesium glycinate. And if you have twitching eyelids, restless legs, leg cramps, heart palpitations, any kind of muscle cramping, irregular heartbeat, and high blood pressure, you're magnesium deficient. And the fastest way to fix those things without ending up on a pile of drugs is to use magnesium. The men hate the high blood pressure drugs because they cause impotence, and the doctors don't tell them that, or they wouldn't take it. And in women, the high blood pressure medications don't work very well. So this is a situation where you'd be much better off to take MagSmart, 1 scoop at bedtime and 1 scoop in your water bottle. My grandsons have MagSmart in their water bottle to take to school every day because it's great for attention and keeping kids calm as well. If you're a coffee drinker, you lose 25 milligrams of magnesium every time you drink a cup of coffee. So that's a lot of magnesium that's gone. We actually should have Tim Hortons and Starbucks giving out magnesium supplements with every cup. At some point we might see that happen. Some of us have lost our sex drive and we frankly don't care. You know, our husbands care, but we don't really care. And then there are some of us who lost our sex drive and we kind of miss it. It's like, you know, as you age, it's like you have an orgasm, but you go, well, did I really? I had a hot flash and my chest went red, but it's not like that boom. And, you know, it takes so long. It's like, okay, forget it. You know, it's not going to happen. And we know this. It's just the way it is. So I worked with a group of women for about 6 years, trying multiple different combinations of herbs and nutrients, trying to get us thinking about it again. Because men are always shocked that it's like gone. It's like we don't even think about it. And also to get that boom back, to make our orgasms longer, stronger, and better and happen, you know, in less than 2 hours. And so I had young women, older women, married women, single women. And about 6 years in, this one woman who was single, she called me, and she was alone. And she said, I think we finally have a formula that works because last night I woke up in the middle of the night with a rocking orgasm with all my cats watching me. And she was by herself, right? And it's kind of rare for women to have those kinds of orgasms. And so the thing is, SexSmart works faster in men. So if you're going to give it to your guy, get a 1-month head start before you let him have it. And it works very quickly in men and very effectively. I'm going to skip our iron, a lot of our iron information, just because tonight they don't have any. We gave you a little iron booklet, but the one thing I want to tell you is that low iron is the leading reason for hair loss in women. And you can go almost bald and still have your iron in the normal range, but low iron. So when you go and get blood tests, and I'll go back a slide, when we look at the symptoms of low iron, dark circles under the eyes, peeling fingernails, hair loss, fatigue. You're just flat out tired. You can't exercise. You can't walk up 3 stairs because you're huffing and puffing. And remember, I told you, if you have low iron and you've got heavy periods, you bleed more. So you end up continually in the situation where you've got the low iron. These are the blood tests, hemoglobin and ferritin. And you want to have it in the right range. So your doctor will tell you it's normal, but your hair's falling out in hunks and your fingernails are peeling off. And so hemoglobin, the normal range is 117 to 160, but we'd like it to be around 140. Ferritin is your iron storage, so that's how much iron is being stored in your body. Very important test because your hair follicles are full of ferritin. So when your ferritin levels decline, your hair falls out, goes gray faster, gets crunchy and dry, doesn't hold the color or the curl well. And so the range of normal for women is 15 to 160. So that means if you're 17, your doctor will tell you it's normal. But we know if you have a ferritin below 70, your hair will fall out. When I had the heavy periods, my ferritin was 5. And I can tell you, my hair was falling out in chunks. My fingernails were peeling in half. It was just terrible. And no doctor could tell me why. And yet, obviously, I would have low iron because I had these terrible, heavy, flooding periods. And you have no energy. You just feel flat all the time. In kids, iron is involved in growth and development and test scores at school. So we used to think that the only people who needed iron were women who were menstruating. But now they've done a big study in Canada and they found that we should be getting 20 milligrams of iron from our diet every day. Most of us are getting 8. That is because we don't eat red meat and egg yolks anymore. And if your kids aren't eating meat, then they're definitely going to be low in iron. You cannot get iron from vegetables. It's just about impossible. And then there are different kinds of iron. Most of the doctor-prescribed iron causes terrible constipation, so nobody takes it. And so because I had this terrible low iron problem, I went on a mission to find an iron that does not constipate. And if you tried it when you came in tonight, it tastes like Werther's Candies or Bailey's. It is delicious. It raises ferritin quickly, and it does not cause constipation. And it's great for kids and the elderly and men and women. Actually, men can take all of my products except for Menosmart, which is always funny. It's the only one that has their name in it, and they can't take it. Everything else the guys can take as well. And if they care about our pink label, just take the label off. We have a couple of products that Health Canada has approved for weight loss. And Health Canada has not approved very much for weight loss. That's the other thing, because a lot of the weight loss products don't work. I was quite surprised to see Dr. Oz talk about raspberry ketones because there's no human research. None. Not a single human study. And that's so unlike him. He usually only talks about things that have really good science behind them. So that was kind of disappointing. But there are some really great clinically researched weight loss formulas that work. One of them is Carositol, which is found in our GlucoSmart. And they have done over 30 human studies. They've looked at these people over 20 years. They were researching diabetes, pre-diabetes, weight gain, and belly fat. And the reason why I was interested in it is because in all of the studies, people lost belly fat. The funny thing is you can exercise, work out, be on this great program, you lose weight everywhere, you got great shaped arms and legs, and you still have 2 rows of jelly belly. And so this works at targeting that belly fat. And did you know if you have 4 skin tags or more, 4, you're a pre-diabetic. So if you've got skin tags already, that is your body telling you that you are heading to become a diabetic. And you know, they've got the skin tag remover product on the TV. I keep seeing the ads. They should have a little black sign that runs across the bottom saying, if you have 4 skin tags or more, you need to fix your diet today because you are a pre-diabetic. And we've got all the clinical studies on our website, if you want to go read them, that prove without a doubt that skin tags are related to diabetes. The interesting thing, when people normalize their blood sugar and insulin when they're taking Carositol, what happens is eventually the skin tags fall off. In women, when our insulin goes up, our male hormones go up and we get male facial hair growth. In men, when their insulin goes up, their testosterone converts to estrogen and they get beer bellies and breasts. So not pretty. Male facial hair growth, skin tags, belly fat, all pretty nasty. And it works extremely well to do that. And tonight, if you buy GlucoSmart, they're giving you my Smart Woman's Guide to Weight Loss free, which is a $25 value. So that's pretty nice that they're doing that. The second weight loss product that has excellent clinical research, they have 12 human studies. In every one of these studies, they had people eat their normal diet. So no diet change. You could drink, eat, and be merry. And they gave them CLA. They gave them between 5,000 and 8,000 milligrams of CLA. And they found in one study that they just did, which was really important because it was done in postmenopausal women. That's the group that has the hardest time losing weight. They told them to eat their normal diet, and they had them eat 8,000 milligrams of CLA a day, and at the end of 90 days, they all lost 7 pounds or more. Now that was with no diet change. Can you imagine if they ate protein, green veggies, healthy fats, eliminated the white foods? They would have dropped tons of weight. If you combine CLA Plus and Glucosmart together, you get even better results, and you have to take the right dose of CLA. I had a woman a couple of weeks ago say to me, I've tried it, it doesn't work. So I said, how much did you take? And she said, 2 capsules. I said, it's not going to work. You wasted your money. You have to take the dose that it says on the label, or else you will not get results. Remember I was talking about that wine, you know, when we drink wine and we get this belly fat and we can't budget? That's because over the age of 40, when we drink alcohol, our insulin spikes. What do you do for that? Take Glucosmart with every glass of wine. Because you're not going to stop drinking wine. So why not get your blood sugar back into the normal range when you drink alcohol? This is my last slide. In this early spring, my mother developed memory issues. And we started, as a result of that, it got me really looking at this, because Alzheimer's tends to run in families from mothers to daughters. And so if your mother has Alzheimer's or memory decline, it's often very common that the daughters will develop it as well. And then I started looking at the fact that in Canada, 15% of people at age 65 have dementia or Alzheimer's, and by the time we're 85, 50% is what they figure is going to have Alzheimer's dementia. We can prevent it. And there are also nutrients that have been researched and used in people who already have Alzheimer's and memory loss. And those nutrients are acetyl L-carnitine, alpha-lipoic acid, blueberry, and curcumin. Do you know there is virtually no Alzheimer's in India? They believe that is because they start eating curcumin at such a young age, and so they're doing research using curcumin for the prevention and treatment of memory decline. BrainSmart also is great for people who've had strokes, who just want to get better test scores at school, who want to have more energy, and to prevent and treat memory decline in adults. If you've got that terrible brain fog that a lot of women get at menopause, then you need BrainSmart. This is my website, hormonehelp.com. And I have a free nutrition course up there that you can take. If you filled out the ballot tonight so we can read it, we won't sell your name to anybody. It's just in case I come back again, we can invite you to other lectures. And in the new year, I'm going to do a whole group of webinars. So then you can watch these from your computer on skin and bones and heart health and weight loss seminars. And we're going to do a series of weight loss seminars where we can actually help you go along the way to maximize your weight loss so that you actually can achieve the goals. Tonight they have everything on sale at miraculous prices, and I'm going to answer your questions. We're going to do the draw. So did everybody fill out a ballot? If you want a ballot, put up your hand and Maria will bring you a ballot so you can fill it out. So if you didn't get a ballot filled up, just